La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Muhammadur Rasulullah alayhi salatullah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Ibrahim Rasulullah alayhi salatullah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Musa Rasulullah alayhi salatullah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Isa Rasulullah alayhi salatullah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Yusuf Rasulullah alayhi salatullah. Let's together sing the prayer of peace. And we can sing it 3 times. The first time asking Allah to send peace to our own heart. It's funny, I'm spaced out, can't even think of how it starts. Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam wa ilayka ya'udu salam. Tabarakta Rabbana wa ta'alayt ya dhul jalali wal ikram. Breathing the light and presence of Allah's peace into our hearts. Letting that light flow to anywhere in our heart that needs the peace. The second time we recite the prayer, asking Allah to send the lights of peace to all of the beloveds in our tariqah, all of the people in our communities. Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam wa ilayka yaudu salam. Tabarakta Rabbana wa ta'alayt Ya Dul Jalali wal Ikram. Imagining the light of peace flowing through our tariqah, through the hearts of our brothers and sisters. So their hearts can drink the real medicine. The third time we make the prayer, we could have the intention for Allah to send the lights of peace to all the people, to everywhere in this troubled planet, to the mineral and vegetable, animal kingdoms, the kingdoms of the jinn, asking Allah to send His light of peace. Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam wa ilayka yaudu salam. Tabarakta Rabbana wa ta'alayt Ya Dul Jalali wal Ikram. Beloved Allah, we ask you to help us hear your voice tonight as we read from the words of your beloved son, Sidi Muhammad al-Jamal. Help us to go behind any of the outside pictures we make about this teaching and help bring us deeper so that we see only one picture, your picture, the picture of your peace and love, mercy, wisdom, knowledge. Ameen. Tonight we pick up the story of Yusuf after he was thrown in the well by his brothers who were jealous. So this has happened before the passages we have tonight, but I thought it might be important to take a moment to realize that being thrown into the well by your brothers or sisters is a station in the spiritual walking in this world. So perhaps at some time in your life, you've been thrown into the well by your brothers and sisters. And I mean by brothers and sisters, I mean the human being. Has there been a time where you faced criticism, judgment, persecution, where you've been isolated, or ostracized. This is part of the walking in this world. I just moved from California to North Carolina, back to the city of Asheville, in part, to be with my daughter Sarah, her husband Ibrahim, and my grandson Isaac. When I was in Asheville in 1985, the medical board, the licensing board, moved to take my license away because I was practicing holistic medicine, integrative medicine. So for 10 years, the medical authorities in this state threw me in the bottom of the well. And said all kinds of nasty things. Yusuf gives us the example of how to walk through that station. And as Sidi said in this part that we'll read, at least we will read parts of it tonight, he gave the date. He was patient. He was merciful. He was wise. How was he able to do it? And how are you and I able to do it? When we recited the invocation at the beginning of the class, what came to me was that what enabled Yusuf to walk through that station with the example of excellence was that he knew who he was. He knew his inheritance. He knew that Allah was his source of everything. He didn't forget who he was, and he didn't forget who Allah was. And he knew that if the brothers put him in the well, there was deep wisdom in what Allah was making. When we are thrown in the bottom of the well, our natural response is to blame and judge others. They're bad people. They shouldn't do it. I didn't deserve it. And all that may be true. But as our guide Sidi often said, don't stop with the outside pictures. I remember when I first moved out to California, and I was in a state of ease, of Jamal. When I arrived out in California in the early days of the Mother Center, there was a lot of dissatisfied people. There's a lot of complaints. And people would come up to me. I guess I was the new guy in town, so people would come up to me and unload their difficulties. And then Nura, who's my wife of 52 years now, but then I don't know how many years it was, but it was about 25 years ago. We had been having a beautiful time, but when we arrived out in California, my experience was all of a sudden she was being really pissy, and it's like, yikes, what happened? I moved all the way out from Sala Kentstown to California, and it was terrible. Now, I wasn't being thrown in the bottom of the well. The point of the story was I called Sidi. He was in Jerusalem. And I said, Sidi, I don't know what's going on out here, but everybody's doing, I didn't want to tell on anyone, but I just sort of conveyed in general. Everyone's pissy. I don't know how you translate that. But and I was calling the guy to get a little love. And he immediately said, Wadude, don't stop with the outside pictures. And then he hung up. That was it. No love from the guide. But deep wisdom. So I'm just repeating what you all already know. And that is, no matter what is happening in our life, remember who you are. Remember who Allah is. Know that everything in this world is between the two hands of Allah. Everything happens with precision. In our lives, without exception. And don't get stuck in the outside pictures. What I found helpful for me is that no matter what I think is happening, it's an outside picture. So I try to go behind and behind, sitting with the remembrance. And then Allah may take me deeper, but that's still an outside picture. And I go behind that, and behind that, until, inshallah, I have a deep sense of, oh, okay, this is what's going on. Alhamdulillah, thank you, Allah. Help me walk through this and come closer to you. So in the story of Yusuf picking it up where we are now, Yaqub's sons are back with the father, and they want to bring Benjamin with them, the youngest son, really another favorite of Yaqub's. Yaqub makes them promise to bring young Benjamin back with them. The sons are going to Egypt to get food and provisions. So picking up the story on page 155. Yaqub asked his sons to promise to bring Benjamin back if he gives him permission to go with them. This is an outside picture. Inside, he wants to teach them that you can keep the truth inside yourself, and that is the truth of Allah, the presence of Allah. If you keep your promise and care about what has been given to you. He says, do not lose what I give. And then I can give again. So this is really Allah speaking. Do not lose what I give. And then I can give again. I can give more. The sons promised Yaqub to not lose what he gave them and to not give it to anyone who did not need it. This is some of the meaning. Yaqub gave Benjamin to his brothers and told them to do something that had a very deep meaning. He said, it is very important for my sons to enter Egypt through different doors and not to go together through one door. There are many ways to enter Egypt. Why did Yaqub say this? The outside meaning is that he wants to be careful not to lose all his sons in one moment. But he's also saying something else on the inside. Be careful with what I have given you. Do not throw away what Allah gives. Do not give this to just anyone who does not care about it. Be careful about what you have and put on more than 1,000 veils to keep the jewel inside. If you take the jewel and reveal it to everyone, someone will take the jewel who does not understand what you have given and will throw it away. And then you are the loser. So take a moment to be with that teaching You are the jewel. You are holy. When Allah made you, He made beauty. Allah gave you the gift of your body. Do not throw it away. Of course, this can apply to men and women who give themselves away sexually, who give themselves away through severe codependency. Allah gave you a heart. He says to care for your heart, to feed your heart the clean water of His remembrance, of His salat, of being compassionate and generous with the poor. The story continues when the brothers arrive in Egypt. They don't know that this royal official of the court is actually their brother Yusuf. When they arrive, Yusuf takes Benjamin aside and reveals himself to him and tells him not to worry. So in the morning, Yusuf told his soldiers to give his brothers everything that they needed. Imagine big sacks of grain, probably of wheat, I would guess, big sacks of grain that were put over the horses or camels or whatever they were riding. And they would take it back to their father and their homeland. But he told one soldier to put the scale that weighs the goods against the money and the coins. He told him to hide one of the scales inside a sack of wheat and to put it on the horse, camel, whatever, that Benjamin was riding, as a secret. So Sidi says, see what the Prophet Yusuf sallallahu alaihi wasallam does? If you only look at the outside picture, you would say, why is Yusuf playing games? but he does not want to play games. There is something deep behind what he does. He wanted to say to his brothers, if anyone loses the truth and does not keep his promise, Allah will take it from him and give it to someone else. I'll say that again. If anyone loses the truth and does not keep his promise, Allah will take it from him and give it to someone else. Yusuf wanted to give a strong teaching to his brothers to help them make the real tawbah and the real return to the religion of unity. The outside religion is not enough. Yusuf wanted to cook them in a strong station. So the brothers, along with Benjamin, leave, happy, going back to Yaqub, feeling mission was accomplished. But Yusuf sends a soldier out after they've only been away about 1 kilometer. And the soldier demands that they stop. And the brothers ask why. And the soldier says, because somebody here stole the scales. Of course, they denied it, said, go ahead and look through our luggage. And in the culture of Egypt at that time, if anyone was caught stealing something, that person became the slave of the owner of what was sold. That was the reason that Yusuf put the scales inside the sack of grain of his youngest brother. So the soldier said, if you did not steal, you can go. They searched the oldest brother first and found nothing. And then one brother after the other. And they didn't find anything until they reached Benjamin's camel. It's a camel, not a horse. A camel, of course. You are the thief, the soldier said. But secretly he whispered to Benjamin, don't worry. You'll be okay. In 3 days, you will see your father and your mother here in Egypt. The oldest brother said, well, take me and leave Benjamin. Make me be your slave. But this could not be done because this was not the religion in Egypt. It was also true in the religion of Yaqub. So, of course, the brothers return to the dad, Yaqub. They say, we lost Yusuf a while before, and now we've lost your next favorite son. He was accused of being a thief. Dad knew that Benjamin could not be a thief. So what is the teaching or the example of Yaqub for us, who was also a prophet? He said, he went behind the outside picture. He said, my beloved Benjamin did not do anything. Allah wants to return Yusuf and Benjamin to me together. He hadn't seen Benjamin for decades. Excuse me, he hadn't seen Yusuf for decades. But he knew through the divine knowing that Allah was going to bring Yusuf and Benjamin back to him. And then he says, I am waiting. I am patient until Allah sends his order. SubhanAllah. This was a strong teaching in order for them to know how to be real beloveds of Allah. This is the sons. To not break a promise and to know how to be very careful with the line of their father. They're in a line of the prophets. This was the meaning. Allah does not want you to lose anything he gives you. Again, I ask us, what has Allah given you? Have you cared for it? Before I talked about what Allah has given you personally, but who has Allah put in your life to care for? I think of my brother Salah tonight, who has cared for his children with incredible devotion. SubhanAllah. And also Yaqub said, I am patient, I will wait for Allah's order. When we're in the Jalal, and it's prolonged, and we're doing everything we can to heal, to clean, to do tawbah, and still the Jalal persists, on the one hand, there may be more that we need to do. On the other hand, Allah has not sent his order for the Jalal to be lifted. It's for us to find the wisdom of Allah. I remember the early days of building our Tariq under Sidi, one of the organizations I was in. There was a how to say this. There was I had frustration building because one of the people in co-leadership with me wasn't moving, was stuck, was sort of spinning their wheels. And it's frustrating to me. And I remember sitting with this deeply And it became so clear to me that if we rushed ahead now, we would not be successful. The person in question needed time to go deeper, but also the culture needed more time. And even beyond that, it just wasn't time yet to bring things out in the stronger and deeper way that we eventually were able to do. So I saw it wasn't about this particular colleague or coworker at all. That Allah was like, it was putting things in place, and it took time for things to be put in place. So the example of Yaqub is, I am very patient and I'm waiting for Allah's order. And the other example is he was teaching his sons to take care of everything you're given. I remember once I was walking with Sidi, and it was in the early days, and my money nafs had been coming up. Why is he always asking people for money? What does he do with the money? I don't know if I'm the only one who's ever had those thoughts, but that was my state and station back in the days. Never said anything to him. Of course, that doesn't keep it hidden. But I remember sometime later, we're just walking together, not really saying anything. All of a sudden, he just like a dead stop, and he turns around and he looks me right in the eyes and he says, Wadude, I take care of every penny Allah gives to me to care for. I take care of every penny. You know, what could I say? All right, boss. You're the man. I'm with you all the way. CD would care for his beloveds too. We were, put into his care. And he could be very strong when that was needed. He could be very compassionate when that was needed. But he took care of his beloveds. So the sons return. They don't have Benjamin. They were overwhelmed with grief, wept and cried. And they made the real Tawbah. CD writes, they went into the desert, leaving their wives and children and sheep, made the real halwa. When they became real beloveds of Allah completely, without doubts, they returned together to be with Yaqub. They made the real Tawbah from the religion of unity. Yaqub now spoke directly to them and said, go to Yusuf and say you are sorry. Say to him, please excuse us. We are very sorry about what we did. And then you will see that he is Yusuf. Before this, the sons had not believed or surrendered to Yaqub, to what he said about Yusuf. The sons assumed Yusuf was dead, or at least out of the picture. The sons said the dad was mad, crazy. That was before they made the real Tawbah. And now they believed that their father spoke the truth. After the strong fire, they all surrendered and believed. Allah puts us, all of us, in stations of the fire, stations of Jalal. I remember another time I was minding my own business, walking with Sidi, and he said, it's like out of the blue, he said, Wadude. I said, yes, Sidi. Wadude. I said, yes, Sidi. Wadude. The Jalal, she is more holy than the Jamal. I said, Sidi, why do you say that? He said, because the fire of the Jalal burns away the impurities, leaving only the gold behind. I remember when my wife Nura, many years ago, was diagnosed with cancer. And she's doing fine now, alhamdulillah. The night she was diagnosed, I came home and wailed, cried, sobbed. I was in the instant Jalal. No, obviously not as much as my wife, but point of the story being, when I prayed that night for her healing, I've never prayed as deeply and utterly on my knees, more than on my knees. The Jalal brought me to my knees. And that whole journey, my journey, her journey, our journey, was incredibly blessed. And our journey with cancer was much easier than the journeys of the people I'm caring for now. But still, it was tough. And now I see, because of that Jalal, Allah put me into the station of helping other people with cancer, because I wasn't doing that at all before then. But when I saw how difficult the journey of cancer was, even for me and Nura, who had everything, including and especially a guide who was praying for us, I wondered, how could most people do this journey? So my heart was moved to, and Allah literally put me with a master physician who really founded this field of advocacy that I'm in. So one of the outcomes of the cancer journey was Allah completely changed who I was working with and who I was serving. So the brothers come to Yusuf. They knock on his door. Yusuf asks them, "Are you the brothers who took their younger brother and put him in a well? Are you also the brothers who surrendered Benjamin so easily?" And of course, then the brothers knew that this royal official of the high court was actually their brother. Yusuf had put his brothers into the holy retreat to cook them until they lost everything from the dunya. If you find some gold and put it in a fire, the fire cleans it. His brothers became like purified gold. And then Yusuf told them to return to their father Yaqub. And we note that Yusuf didn't give Benjamin back to them, he kept Benjamin. So that Allah's plan was fulfilled. The brothers returned to Yaqub, and the whole family came to Egypt to bring the message of peace, love, and mercy to Egypt. Yaqub, Yusuf, and all of his brothers, prophets, to bring that light to Egypt. Toward the end of the section that we have here, CD mentions a prayer. I don't remember if this was Yaqub's prayer or Yusuf's prayer, but in the Quran, by way of translation, prayer is, "O my Lord, you have given me something of sovereignty and have taught me something of the inner meaning of events. O Creator of the heavens and the earth, you are my protecting friend in this world and in the final world. Cause me to die as one who voluntarily surrenders to you, and join me to the righteous." CD writes, "Do you see what," I think that was Yusuf, "do you see what he asked God? He asked God to make him a poor slave for him and to keep him in the real station, always to be a child of his children, who carries the reality of Allah completely and gives Allah's message to everyone who knocks on the door. He prayed for everyone and asked Allah, make me a real believer, always surrendering completely, so that I am always between your arms. Do not discharge me from your home. So I invite all of us to make this prayer together. I'll say it line by line with your hands in upward in petition to Allah, so that we might catch something of the flavor, the fragrance of Yusuf. So I'll say it, and Mina Maru, our translator, will say it, and then you repeat it. Oh, my Lord, you have given me something of sovereignty and have taught me something of the inner meaning of events. O Creator of the heavens and earth, you are my protecting friend in this world and the next. Cause me to die as one who voluntarily surrenders to you. And join me to the righteous. Make me a real believer, always surrendering completely, so that I am always between your arms. Do not discharge me from your home. Send mercy to all people and keep the doors open for everyone who sins and wants to knock at your door. Do not forbid the sinner or discharge him. You are the merciful. Amen. Sidi writes, this is the story of Yusuf. May peace and blessings be upon him, who carried the complete quality of the beauty. He gave this quality to everyone and taught us how to give it. If anyone throws stones at you, do not throw stones at him. Yusuf's brothers literally wanted to kill him. But Yusuf gave them only love, mercy, and peace. He gave them the truth of Allah and showed everyone how to be in the real garden between the hands of Allah. No one can do anything to you if you surrender and trust Allah completely. No one can do anything to you if you surrender and trust Allah completely. If you are a real Muslim, no one can do any harm to you. But if you go far away, or if you look back, this is very dangerous. The example of Yusuf says to not worry about anything, but to keep yourself with your beloved God. If you want to make sajda, meaning the prostration, make sajda between the arms of your beloved God. Do not let any presence forbid you to be with him. Always continue without stopping. Be very careful not to stop with any pictures or any idols. Money is an idol. And any presence or thing is an idol. Anything is Wadude. Now I'm saying anything in this dunya is an idol. An outside picture, if you will. Always continue, and you will see that the hand of Allah guides you to the real Kaaba, inside the real Qibla for him, the real Qibla of his deepest love. If you consider all that you have heard in the story of Yaqub, Yusuf, and his brothers, you will see that they are all beloveds and prophets, and there were many strong things that met them, that came to them. You are not the only one who meets strong things. If there was no fire, how could you eat meat? If there was no fire, how could you know the beauty? If there is no Jalal, how could you know the garden? If you are not tired, how could you taste rest? If there was no darkness, how could you know the light? For that reason, it's very important not to worry, but to continue to give and to give. You do not have anything to give him. But you give to yourself. For that reason, Allah wants you to be real slave. Then you will live in the garden now. Do not wait until you leave this dunya. If you wait or you lose any moment, you lose your time. Allah does not lose anything. He does not want you to lose anything. He is very careful to always keep you in the real, complete, holy marriage with Him. All that happened between the beloveds of Allah were teachings. I'll say that again. All that happened between the beloveds of Allah were teachings. They are lessons for us and also stations. For that reason, sometimes you are the Yusuf of your time. Sometimes you are the Ibrahim of your time. Sometimes you are the Yaqub of your time. There is a deep meaning in every story. I hope Allah permits me to explain to all my beloveds everywhere about the prophets, so that they will know the real stories of the prophets. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon them. They are beloveds of Allah. Peace and blessings be upon you. Ameen. I think this is enough. So take a moment to be with what Sidi has given us. The teachings about caring for everything Allah has given you to care for. The example of the Prophet Yaqub. The teachings that come from being thrown in the bottom of the well. Giving the date to your brothers and sisters after they've thrown stones at you. Being patient. Knowing everything comes from the order of Allah. Knowing that those who completely surrender to Allah are in Allah's complete protection. Know that you are not the only one who meets strong things in this world. This is such a holy series of teachings being sponsored by our dear sisters. May we all take more and more from the stories of the prophets, not just on the outer, but in the inner. We draw from their examples to be the Yusuf of our time, the Yaqub of our time, and make this real in our life. Amen. 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 So Sarah, turn it back to you. If there's any questions for any of the beloveds, we can respond to them. And if there isn't, we can finish for the night.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Wadude.
Alhamdulillah, thank Allah.
Wadude, can I share something?
Sure, Salam.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, I just want to say Allah's timing is perfect.
No. I'm sure he'll be surprised to
Exactly
know
what
that.
I needed to hear, because just before the class, my daughter called me. She lives out in California. She has chosen not to get vaccinated, and they are working really hard to try to get everybody vaccinated out there. And so she just texted me, you know, they have been selecting different categories of people in different professions, saying, if you want to continue to do this, you know, say work in the hospital, be a policeman or whatever, you have to get vaccinated. And she's in the food industry. And she works at it's a restaurant deli kind of a place. And she said they just passed a ruling saying that anybody in the food industry has to get vaccinated. So she called me, and I know she's going to be beside herself. What is she going to do? And so what I'm hoping from this teaching is to ask her to sit with what God is really asking of her. Because, yeah, because she really, you know, and I'm kind of, I mean, I'm in the same situation, because my guidance has not been to get vaccinated either, but I keep going to Allah and asking. And but I have my own business, and I don't have to worry about those kinds of rulings. But she doesn't have her own business. She works for this company. So I'm going to use the teaching when I call her back. And so I'm very grateful for how you.
Alhamdulillah. Let me just share a personal story. One of my daughters, you probably know her, Camila Rahima, was very strong about not getting vaccinated and reading whatever she was reading. And as a physician, I've been part of a group that has been gathering lots and lots of research on COVID and how to treat COVID and stuff like that. Not so much on the vaccinations, but you know, a lot of really looking worldwide for all of this. And whenever I suggested that my daughter consider vaccination, I got really strong pushback. And part of the interpretation was, well, you don't respect my choice. So, and my daughter's extremely healthy and very conscious, and you know, do different precautions. And she came down with COVID. I had already had a sort of a whole treatment kit and everything ready for her to jump on it. She'd already been taking things that were preventive. And within a day or two, I got her into monoclonal antibody treatment. She was down in San Diego. So she had a good recovery. And yet a week or two later, what started was this long haul COVID syndrome, which has caused her to have to take a leave of absence from work. She can't do her work as a lawyer. This is long haul, creates, you know, cognitive deficits. This is all entirely preventable. Entirely preventable. Yes, ask God, of course. And I think that and Nur and I eventually did get the vaccination. We chose the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, in part because that technology had been used for 10 years, as opposed to the mRNA vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna, which they're new. And there are there are legitimate concerns unknown. All the information hasn't out. It's a big experiment, so
Yeah.
I get that. But the the Johnson and Johnson at least has that technology at least has a 10-year track record. So I understand. So in our situation, we were leaving our cocoon in California, or it's kind of like you. I mean, we just worked out of our house, and Nura never even went shopping. I did all the shopping, and I was gloved and masked months before anyone was in Napa Valley. But we were coming to Asheville here, and we now live in the house of Sarah, my other daughter, and she has a young child, and she's out more and about because she's got a child going to school and play groups and stuff like that. So the calculation shifted. So yeah, we didn't really know everything, but she'd like us to get vaccinated. We're going, honestly, a little bit of prejudice. We're going from California, a highly educated state, to North Carolina, where they're still fighting over. Anyway, so like right now, everybody's still unmasked. It's like, really? Okay. So stop for a lot. So, we got vaccinated and we were fine. The point being that the risks are different now than they were 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 5 months ago. This Delta variant is no fooling. So, and it's not even the worst that we're going to see, because as long as a substantial part of the population, it's just basic virology, as long as a substantial part of the population is not getting vaccinated, which is it's true in our country, much less worldwide, then this virus will continue to mutate. And the mutations that come out on top are the ones that are successful in evading the human antibodies. So the risk reward calculation, I think, shifts dramatically. I mean, we just got to take it out of politics, take it out of misinformation. It's obvious what's happening. We now have a variant that is way more infectious than before. And the people who are getting sick are the people who haven't been vaccinated. 1% of the people having serious illness have been vaccinated, 99% haven't. This is like obvious. It's not rocket science. And what I think people are only beginning to realize, and I think the science will show this, is that Lambda or whatever other variants are coming down the pike could make Delta look like child's play. So should I push my daughter harder? I don't know. I'm going to have a conversation with her soon once she gets over the worst of this. And that is that when people have been infected and they decide nonetheless to go get vaccinated, they actually have the best immune, profile going forward. And just because she's gotten infected once and has long haul syndrome doesn't mean she can't get infected again. And that would just be, it's completely unnecessary. So I think there's value in that story. And you can just say, this is what I shared with you. And maybe that story will help your daughter. If she wants to call me, she can. I'm not going to push her to do anything, but I think the facts on the ground are what they are.
Would you say that Allah is asking every single person to get vaccinated?
How can I say that? I don't know what Allah says.
Right. I mean,
I can say that Allah expects us to use our intellect that He gave us.
Yeah. And I know one of her big concerns is that she kind of knows her body, and I mean, she's a healthy young woman. She's 32, but she also, now I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I didn't vaccinate either of my kids at all. And she has a body that's just, really sensitive. And she's really concerned about, getting serious side effects.
I
That's
understand.
her
And
big
you
concern.
got to look at the risks of side effects versus the risk of getting a life-threatening illness.
Yeah.
We only vaccinated, I was a doctor, so I could sort of pick and choose. So we did very little vaccinations.
Mhm.
But, we weren't in a pandemic then,
Right.
40 years ago, 35
Right.
years ago. So sure, bodies are sensitive. It's possible to have reactions. I think my daughter Sarah, she got pregnant. Or was it before she got pregnant or when she got pregnant? Must have been before she got pregnant. She didn't have any antibodies to rubella. She didn't get the MMR. And it's like, okay, the people who have severe congenital birth defects are people who get rubella when they're pregnant, So again, it's the calculation is different. Now it's not just me. It's the baby that I want to have. So she went and got the MMR. And she had, I think, subtle reactions for a year.
Mhm.
Okay. And the kid didn't get congenital birth defects from rubella, So the calculations are different now. This is a disease that kills people. And for us to have had months and months and months of people saying, oh no, this disease isn't killing people, those are all fake statistics. And oh my God, this is shaitan, misinformation, creating doubt and confusion. So I chose Johnson & Johnson because I had some information that I could potentially genetically have a strong reaction to polyethylene glycol, which is in the the mRNA vaccines.
Yeah.
So I chose the best one, as best I could tell. But really, so far, the vaccine clearly prevents death.
Yeah. Yeah.
And severe hospitalization. And I think now, honestly, I think there's a compelling reason for people to take vaccines to protect the rest of the people in the community. It's not just about, protecting my life. It's about not passing on an infection unknowingly, or down the road, 2, 3, 4, or 5 people could die. So
Yeah.
maybe that's what a law is making. I don't know what the law is making.
Well, and part of it is, if they're making that requirement and she says no, then she will lose her job. And so, is a law really saying, I want you somewhere else, or, she's got a lot to sit with right now, I can see.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to die on that hill. Really? You could die on the hill of not getting a vaccine?
Well, maybe you'll make me think about it, huh, Wadude? Thank you.
My son-in-law had a air conditioner tech guy come today. He was working 3 feet from my office here. And I said, are you vaccinated? And he said, no. And what he was wearing was basically a scarf, which does frickin' nothing. And he's going into people's houses. I didn't say anything to him. I was like, really? I mean, there's literally craziness going on.
Yeah.
Where people aren't using their intellect. And now we're hearing stories. I mean, it's so poignant. Someone's in the ICU dying and say, well, can I take the vaccine now? Can I take the vaccine now to save me? Like, no, too late. So yeah, people die when a law decrees they'll die, but why risk it? The vaccine could easily be seen as a mercy from Allah. Easily.
Alhamdulillah.
So, anyway.
Thank you.
Never use their intellect. This I don't know, for me, this is not something worth risking your life for. It's like, take the vaccine, move on. And actually, it's nice to have the vaccine, I have to say. It's like, yeah, it provides helps the body relax a little bit from constantly being kind of on guard. And I'm still wise, but I noticed there's like a sort of a mercy in it.
Hmm.
So it's either mercy or I'm an illusion. Alhamdulillah. Allah knows.
Thank you, Wadude.
You're welcome. I know how challenging this is for a parent. I really do. So, Allah, may Allah guide your daughter and protect her and whatever she does. Ameen.
Ameen. Oh, alhamdulillah, thank you. Wadude, again, what a beautiful transmission. I really felt the fragrance of the teaching tonight. So thank
Alhamdulillah.
you to all the
I hope-
beloveds here.
I hope the last thing didn't sound like a diatribe on vaccines. I don't feel that way, but
Alhamdulillah.
hope it was thought-provoking and beneficial for
Sure.
people.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Words of wisdom delivered with
Inshallah.
deep kindness.
Inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, so
And Amina Maru, we haven't seen you, but it'd be nice to see you.
her camera's not working tonight.
Oh, and I'm sorry for the vaccine discussion. I was going way too fast. I forgot. I apologize. But thank you for providing the translation. Maybe we can hear you. Can we hear you?
She's on a different channel. She'd have to switch over.
Oh, okay. All right.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you, dear. Assalamu alaikum.
All right.
Well, let's
Alhamdulillah.
close with a Fatiha together after all of that. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin.
Thank you so much, Wadude.
Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Alaikum
Alaikum
assalam.
assalam.
Thank you.
Alhamdulillah.
Walaikum assalam.